What happens when a neighborhood bully with a clipboard and a fake badge picks a fight with the actual chief of police? Let me tell you about the time I, Tom Harper, the top cop in this sleepy little town, found myself in a driveway showdown with 3 wannabe enforcers who had no clue who they were messing with. It all started with a due law 7 fine slapped on my door like a scarlet letter, and it ended with a corrupt homeowners association crumbling under the weight of its own lies. Buckle up, because this is one hell of a ride. Picture this: I'm standing on my porch, sweat dripping from a morning run, when I hear the clank of metal on my driveway. Not a wrench, not a car door, something heavy wire, like someone's trying to chain up my life. I step outside and see 3 guys in cheap navy vests, stitching on the chest reading, "Maple Grove Property Control." They're crouched around my off-duty Jeep, bolting a clamp to the wheel like they're repo men in a bad movie. A 4th guy, holding a clipboard and a ticket book that screams Microsoft Word template, steps forward. "Sir, you're in violation of Section 9.4c. Unpaid HOA balance of due law 7.32. We're here to collect or impound." I blink, half expecting Ashton Kutcher to pop out and yell, "Punked!" But no, these guys are serious, and their SUV is blocking my garage, trapping my patrol cruiser inside. Now, I've lived in Maple Grove for 15 years. My HOA dues are on autopay, pulled from an account I haven't touched since Obama was president. That due law 7 notice? Bright yellow, taped to my door like an EVY tie-in warning. I figured it was a mix-up, some intern screwing up account numbers. I paid it to shut them up, but that was my first mistake. The fine wasn't a mistake, it was a test. And the mastermind behind it? Linda Grayson, the newly crowned HOA president, sitting in her office with a fake smile and a coffee mug that probably cost more than my monthly water bill. I met Linda when I went to clear up the fine. She's all pearls and pressed blouses, sipping something from a tumbler that smells like PRIVY leg. I showed her my bank statement, pro-VYing the payment was never late. She barely glanced at it, like I'd handed her a used tissue. "The fee's been assessed, Mr. Harper. Pay it or appeal at the next meeting. Or face escalation." Escalation. Over $7. I paid it, thinking that was the end. Spoiler, it wasn't. Within days, more notices arrived. My grass was a 1/4 inch too long. The ceramic bluebird my late wife loved on our mailbox. Unauthorized ornamentation. My recycling bin was the wrong shade of green news to me, since the city only issues one kind. Then came the drones. Little buzzing spies with blinking lights, hovering over my backyard during dinner. I caught one on my security cam, traced its path, and watched it fly straight back to Linda's garage. She was out there, launching it from behind her rosebushes like a suburban CIA operative. I kept my cool, though. I'm not the guy who loses it over petty nonsense. I wear a badge for alleviating. I've seen what happens when ego overrides reason. But it wasn't just me. My neighbor, Mike Torres, a retired paramedic, got fined for his garden hose being viewable from the street. Sarah Nguyen, an ICU nurse pulling 14-hour shifts, was cited for planting daisies without board approval. Daisies. Meanwhile, Linda's cronies had tacky lawn gnomes and faded Halloween decorations up year-round, untouched by citations. The rules weren't rules, they were weapons, and Linda was swinging them like a sledgehammer. I tried playing nice. At the next HOA meeting, I walked into what felt like a kangaroo court. Linda stood at a podium, clicking through a PowerPoint on compliance trends, like she was briefing the Pentagon. I asked about the drones. She said, "The community deserves to feel secure." I asked about my bluebird. "Symbolic imagery requires pre-approval to avoid divisive messaging." I pointed out the selective enforcement Mike, Sarah, the elderly couple down the street fined for their porch lights wattage. Linda stared at her tablet like I was speaking Martian. So I pulled out the HOA charter, the original one, and read the clause requiring a full community vote for enforcement changes. She smirked. "The board updated that. No vote needed." My fists clenched, but I stayed calm. I needed EVY Denke, not a shouting match. That night, I dug into the HOA's bylaws and property records. Linda's street? 0 violations in a year. Her friends, her husband Greg, all immune. The rest of us? Fair game. I started documenting everything. Body cam in my yard, photos of every notice, motion sensors by my driveway after I caught someone measuring my trash cans with a ruler. I saw a neighbor get cited for a fence post that had been cracked since the Bush administration. This wasn't about order, it was about power. What Linda didn't know. I'm not just a homeowner. I'm the chief of police, with 20 years of busting gangs tougher than her clipboard brigade. I built a case file. Operation Curb Watch. Logging every violation, every email, every shady move. I filed a complaint with the city over the drones, sent Linda's emails to a friend in county ethics, and traced the HOA's payment vendor. Something was off, way off. Then came the driveway standoff. Those 3 goons in their dollar store uniforms, ratcheting that boot onto my Jeep. I asked for their license. They stammered. We're HOA authorized. I pressed. City registered? Bonded? Silence. One guy adjusted his fake badge, which looked like it came from a costume shop. I turned, walked to my garage, and came back in full uniform, badge gleaming, radio crackling, body cam on. The air shifted like a storm rolling in. One dropped his wrench. Another backed up, earpiece dangling like a broken toy. IDs. No, I said. They froze. One bolted down the street, didn't get far. I called in backup. 2 patrol cars rolled up, and we detained them all. Turns out, they were hired by Linda. 2 were ex-mall cops, 2 were cousins of board members, paid cash to play enforcer. Their property control DVY was a sham, fake badges, no license, just Linda's memo GIVYing them a green light. I arrested the leader, Carl, for impersonating an officer and vehicle tampering. The others got citations, pending charges. Linda showed up, robe flapping, yelling about internal HOA business. I held up a fake badge. This is fraud, Linda. And I've got your financials. Her face cracked. You're out of line, she snapped. I laughed. Linda, I am the line. The next morning, I pulled HOA expense reports. Public records, most boards don't even know they're accessible. What I found? Overdue law $90,000 in community safety expenses, wired to a company called Oak Shield Solutions, owned by Linda's sister, Carla Vance. No license, no employees, just a P.O. box and invoices for patrols and deterrent systems. I called in my deputy, Elena Ruiz, and a cyber analyst, Jamie Park. We set up in my kitchen, spreadsheets glowing, highlighters flying. Jamie traced logins to Linda's home IP, editing finds at 2 a.m. Elena cross-checked names. I talked to retirees like the Wilsons, who showed me 25 violation notices due law 2,500 in fines for things like non-approved mulch color. They were scared, talking about liens on their home. This wasn't oversight. It was extortion. The kicker? Linda's team used resident data emergency contacts, work schedule esto time inspections when people were gone. My wife, Aisha, a nurse, got hit 3 times in one night, right after her shifts. That data came from forms Linda collected for safety. It was a stalking blueprint. I compiled it all, 700 pages of photos, videos, financials, drone footage from neighbors. We called it Operation Gatecrash, and sent it to the state AG, Channel 7 News, and 3 retired lawyers in the neighborhood. The final showdown was an HOA meeting, billed as an emergency vote on new rules. Linda didn't know her treasurer, Paul Carter, had flipped after seeing her funnel landscaping funds to Carla's company and her own kitchen remodel. I walked and wired up, camera hidden in the podium mic, Elena outside posing as a neighbor. Linda strutted in, peach blazer and all, pitching biometric locks on tool sheds to protect them from violations. I stood, laid a document on the table, and read the charges: embezzlement, wire fraud, elder coercion, impersonation. She laughed until Elena walked in with warrants and a file box. My team swept in, officers, auditors, techs. Linda's board was cuffed, rights read, marched out past the crowd of stunned neighbors. The fallout was swift. The state froze the HOA's accounts. Fines were voided. A vote dissolved the board, 93 fan tram in favor. Linda sold her house at a loss and fled to a condo across town, where she's probably fighting over drier time. I sent her a postcard of my cruiser parked in her old driveway, 2 inches over the line. The neighborhood's free now. We turned the HOA's SUV into a dunk tank for charity. I put up a sign. Protected by real law enforcement. Aisha parks crooked just for kicks. And me? I drink my coffee on the porch, watching the new family across the street plant tulips. No drones, no notices, just peace. And justice. Always justice.